Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Los Angeles Rams versus Philadelphia Eagles Week 14 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there's always going to be some variation between various data points. However, there's always going to be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting with probably the game of the week. Based on data, like the number one game of the week, the game that you should absolutely watch, no exceptions, is this game between the Rams and the Eagles from a data perspective, because very tight across the board. Both these teams are very strong in terms of their statistics on offense, on defense, on special teams, every area. So this is going to be a very interesting game to figure out and discuss and talk about. But ultimately, let's start with the NFL stat basic comparison data. And basic comparison data, for those that are not familiar with this channel, essentially deals with how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and of course how the special teams is doing based on various statistical points. And again, all terms and definitions are in the description, so you can go there if you're not familiar with any of these terms. Now, the overall data favors the Rams, but it is about 96.85 to 96.22. So the overall score for both of these football teams, the difference is about a 0.83, not 83, but 0.63 difference. That's pretty dang close. So let's get into some reasons why. Let's get into some areas where or why the Rams are favored, essentially, slightly though. First off, offensively speaking, the Rams do have the better offense. They do not allow as many turnovers compared to the Eagles, but very slight advantage there. The Rams also are much better in terms of preventing sacks. The Eagles are about average when it comes to their ability to prevent sacks, whereas the Rams are, above average. And offensive score percentage is another area where the Rams are just better at putting points on the board more consistently versus the Eagles. Now, does this mean that the Eagles are terrible at putting points on the board? Absolutely not. But the Rams have just been a little bit better over the course of the season in doing that versus what the Eagles have been able to accomplish. Now, when you go to the defensive side of the football, things start to break a little bit more for the Eagles in certain respects. The Eagles have the better defensive offensive score percentage, so basically the Eagles have the better ability to prevent points on defense. The Eagles also have the better turnover ratio, so they create turnovers more often. But the Rams have the better sack percentage and the better interception percentage, but very, very slightly. So I would say it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, it definitely kind of flows to the Eagles in certain respects, but it also flows to the Rams in certain respects. And it's very, very close between both these teams when it comes to their ability to prevent points. So again, this is a very tight football game between both these teams. So this is gonna be very challenging, to say the least, in terms of determining who's going to win this game. And then, of course, you get to special teams data. So you look at punt return yardage, which goes to the Eagles. Kick return yardage goes to the Rams. Defensive punt return and defensive kick return yardage goes to the Rams as well. Field goal percentage goes to the Rams. Field goal percentage, of course, out of all the statistics here, is the most important statistic. That is the statistic where if you are very good with your field goal percentage, there's more likely shot that you're going to win this football game. So again, if this is a very tight football game, the best way I explain it is like this. If it's a tight football game and you need a field goal, who's more likely to miss that field goal? It's the Eagles. And if you miss that field goal, you're not putting 3 points on the board. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage into winning that football game. So ultimately, special teams does go to the Rams. And on top of that, the Rams also have the better extra point percentage and the better punting average. So overall, I would say the Rams have the better offense, statistically speaking. The Rams also have the better special teams. And the Eagles slightly better defense, but very, very slightly. So again, this is a very, very tight football game. The overall data does favor the Rams, but very close, very tight, very, very tight football game. So just keep that in mind when we get to the other sort of data points. So now that we've looked at the macro data, now let's look at some micro matchups. So micro matchups, of course, is dealing with down and distance data, essentially. So looking at other sort of areas, if you will, in terms of this. And when you get to this information, the Eagles are actually favored on first and third down when it comes to completion percentage data. So the Eagles defense could create a lot of havoc here. The funny thing about both these teams is they have very similar patterns when it comes to their completion percentage. The Rams have below average first down completion percentage, below average second down completion percentage, and very above average third down completion percentage. And then when you actually get to the Eagles, so this is the Eagles offense versus the Rams defense, same thing. The Eagles have poor first down completion percentage, poor second down completion percentage, and one of the best third down completion percentage in the NFL. So, they're very similar in terms of their completion percentage pattern, which I always kind of go back to and kind of ponder a bit because of that, and also these are both quarterbacks that, were drafted pretty high in that particular draft class, in terms of Wentz and Goff. So definitely interesting kind of concept to kind of think about. And of course the Rams defense has completion percentage advantages on first and second down. So I just wanted to note that real quick. Then when we get to first down conversion rate with the run, and this again has nothing to do with yardage. This has nothing to do with explosive plays. This has to do with the ability to get first downs in various downs and distances. If it is 3rd and 1 and you need to get a first down and you're running the football, do you get that first down more likely than everybody else? That's essentially what this is looking at. And when you look at the data from that perspective, the Eagles have the advantage on second and third down. So the money downs are probably the downs where the Eagles will have the most success stifling the running game. First down, though, is a little bit more even, though. So I think that the Rams could have some success rushing the football, but I think the Eagles could get some big stops on third down, for example. And then you get to the Eagles offense versus the Rams defense in terms of rushing downs. And in this particular area, the Eagles are, both these teams are actually pretty heavily even, in terms of them. First down situations is pretty close between the two. Third down situations is pretty close. The Rams have a slight, I wouldn't say slight, but okay advantage on second down, but not a gigantic advantage, if you will. So I think ultimately this is actually going to be a little bit more interesting when it comes to rushing downs for both these teams. Then when you get to passing data, so when you look at the ability to create first downs with the pass in various downs and distances between the Rams and the Eagles, and in this area, the Eagles are actually favored on first and third down. So again, just like completion percentage data that we just saw before, the Eagles typically are able to limit completions and on top of that, limit positive plays as well, which is not very... it's not a given. Just because you have a very good ability to prevent completions doesn't necessarily mean that you're preventing positive plays from happening at a higher rate at times. But the fact is that they actually are pretty congruent, which is a good sign, by the way. It's a good sign when your when your completion percentage data is congruent with your passing data. It says a lot about you as a defense, is that not only do you limit completions, but you also get the job done when completions are made to not allow positive plays from happening. So when it comes to all those aspects, the Eagles might actually have some success when it comes to first and third down. Then we get to the Eagles offense versus the Rams defense when it comes to passing downs. And in this area, the Eagles are favored on first down and third down. The big money down. This has been consistent with Carson Wentz. He's not exactly been amazing on first down. Second down's probably been his worst down this entire year. He's not exactly gotten better per se on second down. However, third down continues to be his money down. He continues to be consistently clutch when it comes to third down situations, and I think that will probably bode well for him in this game if he plays as well as he can. Then, of course, we get to sack rate between the Rams offense and the Eagles defense. In this particular area, the Rams are favored on second and third down. So I don't necessarily think the Rams are going to get a lot of, I wouldn't say poor plays, but I don't see a lot of sacks being allowed, essentially. The only down and distance to keep track of is first down, because whenever the Rams give up sacks, it's typically on first down, and the Eagles usually force sacks on first down as well. So those are the main down and distances to kind of think about here. And then we get to the Eagles offense versus the Rams defense when it comes to sack rate. And in this particular area, the Rams are favored on first and second down. So both these areas pretty much favor the Rams in that respect when it comes to this particular area. So I do like this. I do think that the Rams will get some sacks in this game, and I think that'll be pretty interesting to kind of follow here, especially keeping track of those particular downs and distances. Then we get to interception ratio between the Rams offense and the Eagles defense. In this particular area, the Rams are favored on first and second down. And then finally, we get to the Eagles offense versus Rams defense when it comes to interception ratio, where the Eagles are favored on second and third down. Most likely chance of an interception potentially happening on first down, but not as likely as you would expect. So ultimately, what are my general feelings about this game? I really don't know. This is, as I showed you in the data, almost dead on even. The Rams have a lot of things that break for them, though. They have the better offense. They have the defensive differences between both these teams are pretty even in that respect, so you could call it like a toss-up. But special teams does heavily favor the Rams as well, especially when it comes to that field goal percentage. That field goal percentage is pretty darn good. And when you're in a tight game, which I think this might end up being a tight game, I mean, it's very likely that this could be a back and forth type game. The team that doesn't miss a field goal is going to have a more likely shot of winning the football game. So ultimately, I'm going to kind of side with the Rams here. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you believe is going to win this football game? Do you side with the Rams? Do you side with the Eagles? Is there anything that kind of points out to you? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.